Old school mic for this one. 47-9. Let's get it started. Welcome everybody to our video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we're back with another initial reactions video. Oh my goodness. I didn't see this coming. 47-9. Ben Johnson. Now, for the last 2 weeks, is trying to embarrass team. I mean, look, this guy was throwing the ball from his own end zone up by 2 scores. We had 42 points. And it was like, okay, that's a little bit weird. It's a little bit straight. We end up getting a safety. It's like, all right, I get it, but also I don't get it. Like, that's probably unnecessary. This guy ran like 4 plays just trying to throw a touchdown to an offensive line, to the point where he was like, you know what? Let's do a hook and ladder. Let's throw a screen and then flip it back to Penei Sewell. This guy, oh my god, this guy, hey, he wanted to score 50. Dan Campbell had to calm this man down. The Detroit Lions just destroyed the Cowboys. And a win? Sure, thought that was possible. Player prop bets, we hit them for the second straight week. We got our player prop bets right. We hit it. But 47-9, I did not see that coming. And this was an awesome win. However, it was best said in my post-game show on Bleacher Report. And I don't want to spend too much time here because I feel like there's not really a lot of great things to say. The Aidan Hutchinson injury makes this incredibly bittersweet. And it actually hurts more than anything. Like, I would have taken the loss to avoid this injury all day long. Absolutely. A broken tibia is what Bleacher Report said that he suffered. Dan Campbell told us that, basically I think he won't be traveling back, at least not right away. He'd be down for a little while, but he's in good hands. I don't know how long it's going to be. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. I don't know. Okay, I'm not the guy. It'll probably be a while, as he'll be down for a while if he comes back this season at all. Do I expect the Detroit Lions to make a move with him down? 100%. And I'll say it like I did on Bleacher Report. I don't know who they're going to go get, but I would be very shocked if the Lions didn't make a trade for somebody. Now, they will definitely go out and sign a body. I'm sure of that. But I think they will absolutely trade for somebody to add specifically as an edge rusher. Now, what you lose with Hutchinson is the 3-down ability, which really stinks. But I think when you look at what the Lions defense has done outside of that positional group, I don't really see a scenario in which Brad Holmes could look at that and say, I don't need to make something happen. Just because of this, your interior defensive line was eating today. Now, they had a backup guard in the game, but Ali McNeil ran over Zach Martin for a pressure, or maybe that was a sack today. Your interior defensive line was all over the place today. Between Levi, Aleem, Mekhi Wingo, DJ Reader now got a quarterback hit. What you have on the interior, then you move back to the second level without Derek Barnes. And again, I was like, hey, I don't know how you replace Derek Barnes. He's so unique. We saw Jack Campbell play on the line of scrimmage. We saw Jack Campbell in that role a little bit today. We saw Isaac Ukwu get a little bit of pressure today as well. Isaac Ukwu get some snaps. But what you're now getting out of that linebacker room, Alex Anzalone, multiple passes defended. And Malcolm Rodriguez was all over the place. I mean, Alex Anzalone had a pass breakup on a guy that he wasn't covering. It was weird timing within the play, but they kind of like meshed 2 crossing routes that would have been open. But with the weird timing, Alex broke up the pass covering the other guy. We are getting out of that unit. And then the back end, the growth that is taking. I don't think Terry Arnold got caught for any flags today. I could be wrong. I don't think he did. I know he gave up the big back shoulder pass to Jalen Tolbert, which was still heavily contested. It was a great catch, great throw. And he also had a pass breakup today on a 3rd down, which was massive. I believe that was him on the little whip route that got us off the field. Don't think he got called for a defensive flag. You tie that with Amik Robertson, who, we gave up. What did we give up to CeeDee Lamb? 89 yards. Versus last year, we gave up like 250. I'll take that. What you have with him, Carlton Davis, which also hopefully he is okay as well. And then the safety play, which is, look, again, I don't watch the other teams like I watch the Lions. I do watch the other games to make my weekly picks, but not like I watch the Lions. I think there's probably a very strong case as the best safety duo in the NFL. Brian Branch is, I've said this before, on any given day, the best player on this football team. He does everything. And as Dan Campbell said after the game, man, he has the freedom in the safety role. I mean, the Lions do so much cover one. They can use him as a robber, and he could just lurk and find routes like we saw against the Rams when he jumped across the field and nearly came up with an interception. He could do that. He could play free safety. He could drop out, be the, deep center field safety that can work sideline to sideline because he has that range and anticipation where he's just on top of things. He can step down, play man coverage, so it gives us the flexibility. Be like, put him on a tight end. He was good at that in college. He's good at that in the NFL. You can do that. You can blitz him from that spot. He can do everything there. And then you have Kirby Joseph, who continues to take the ball away, now has 4 interceptions. You have the best safety tandem in football. When you have that, I don't really see a scenario in which Brad Holmes looked at this and says, I don't need to make a move. Because, number one, then you're messing with the interior defensive line that you have a little bit by not having the same snaps for Levi. Ted Pascal, who popped against the run once again today. Trevor Nowoski, who got after a little bit today. But I just think when you look at where the rest of this defense is at, how fast this back end is progressing, and I told you, I thought Terrion was going the right way. I know Terrion got some hate usually from other divisional team fans. But I was like, hey, Terrion, man, he's looked good these last couple weeks. And I thought today, at least from the initial watch, it looked like his best day as a Lion. We'll have to see when we look back at it. But where the rest of the group is going, I don't see how you can look at that Aidan Hutchinson injury and not make a move. So I expect something to happen. I don't know to what extent a move will be made, because the most difficult thing isn't really like, hey, well, how much will it cost to acquire via draft capital? It's more about the fact of giving the guy the second contract, which for some of these pass rushers is a massive contract when you're going to pay Aidan Hutchinson and you're going to pay Jamison after seeing what he's continuing to do. Like, you have to look at the future of paying these guys rather than like the cost of giving up a draft pick. Like, that's not the issue, or really for a lot of the guys, what they're going to cost this year. Lions have cap space. It's about the future impact, which is the problem with a lot of these massive edge rusher deals that we're talking about. So I don't think that it'll get to that extent. I think they'll add somebody. I don't know that they'll add somebody at that level. I still like the Josh Uche idea, but I'm sure they'll add somebody, because right now, when you're looking at what this team is doing, I don't see how you can see that significant of an injury, because here's the reality. There is no replacing Aidan Hutchinson. Go give me any edge rusher you want. You can't. He's the best pass rusher in football. You can't replace the best. You can't replace the best of anything. He is the best. He is the best pass rusher in football. So other guys got to pick up slack, but he's the best. So you're not just going to find a guy that's like, well, he gives us Aidan Hutchinson. He's not there. He's not available, because that's Hutchinson. He's the best at it. All right, he's the best in the NFL. We saw it again in this game. But I assume he'll do something because of the rest of the way that this team is playing. And now for the second straight week, over 40 points. Easily could have had 50 in this game if they wanted to. Instead, they tried to throw it to offensive linemen multiple times, but they also just passed on points at the end of the game as well. This was incredible. All of the things that we pointed out in the preview video that I thought maybe the Lions would do, some of those things they did, and they worked really well. And really, all the concerns that I had, none of them really showed up in this game, to be honest with you. Like, I looked at Dallas and said, hey, forget the numbers for a second. Watch them against Pittsburgh. Watch them against the Giants to get some good nose tackle. Like, they can run the ball. They can create some movement. They created none. When the starters were in, they had 10 carries for 16 yards. And I'll have to watch it back, but some of that seemed like it was with two deep safeties, where it was like, hey, you can't take advantage of a box that isn't extremely heavy. The Lions showed some 6-1 fronts, which we talked about in the preview video, like changing up the fronts to stop that run, and they did exactly that. They had absolutely no run game to speak of in this game whatsoever. So there was that concern that didn't turn into any kind of concern. Then on the other side of the ball, the things that you liked about attacking this team is that they were predictable on early downs in coverage. Lions used empty. They missed some throws. They left some things out there. Goff left a couple plays out there. They used empty on early downs to take advantage of that. You get a lot of single high looks, cover 3 match, cover 1. So what do the Lions do? Let's just run deep crossers. Let's make them chase us. They did exactly that. Made big plays. Pass protection was excellent. You thought maybe, are they going to get pressure? You like Golston a little bit. Osa can do. It didn't feel like they really had much pressure at all. Outside when they blitzed, they had 2 sacks. Like, any of the concerns didn't really show up, and all the things that you thought like this could go well for the Lions. Hey, we could run the ball well. Not only did they run the ball well, they created a wall. I mean, Montgomery and Gibbs, it felt on multiple runs that there was just zero contact before they were 10 yards down the field, before they had the first down. Monty, 6.7 yards per carry, Gibbs, 5.3. The walls that they were creating against this team and really just heavily leading into the zone runs were incredible. We knew coming in, their cornerbacks don't really want to tackle. We saw that with Diggs. We threw it a one-on-one with Tim Patrick, and he didn't want to tackle that guy, picked up 8 yards. Those guys now want to tackle, and to a point, it felt like they gave up. It felt like they gave up at a point in this game. First off, when running the football in this game, one thing we talked about is how their interior defensive linemen would step back behind gaps. They would kind of leg behind. They would slant or kick back inside so that they could create penetration upfield. Well, in this game, one of the ways that we talked about it is I thought, well, maybe the Lions could go more gap scheme. They said no to that. We're just going to go outside and stretch run plays. We're going to take that out of the game, and we're going to simplify this. Their run scheme seemed about as basic as it gets all year. We're going to go wide. We're going to go at young defensive ends, which we talked about was an option. It's why I put Gibbs as the over, because I thought he'd eat there, but so did Montgomery, and we're just going to go straight at those guys. And it was basically just like Dallas got to a point, it's like, you know what? We don't have an answer for this. We don't have anybody that can set the edge. Our linebackers, when the O-line gets second level, aren't great, and our cornerbacks don't really want to tackle. From the concerns, first off, they went 4 of 17 between 3rd and 4th down. They are a really good 3rd down conversion team. I believe they're 8th coming in the league. And this game, they had basically no success. 2 of their 3rd down conversions were defensive penalties. And then finally, it was about the shot plays. And while they had a couple of like deeper over routes, they didn't have any game-breaking play. They had a couple over routes and then the back shoulder pass to Jalen Tolbert. Really no game-breaking plays. And I got to say this. I don't know how to put a stat to this, but I haven't seen Dak Prescott this season make it look so difficult for him to find a check down. I literally had a folder of check downs to tight ends for Dak Prescott and how many shot plays they like to set up and his just ability to just find somebody, create off script. He couldn't find checkdowns, it felt like, in this game. The guy completed basically 50% of his passes. That is insane. That's been a staple under Glenn, his low completion percentage allowed. But that is unreal. Based on what I've seen from Dak and how well he's played and how well he's found those late in the play, it is crazy to me how difficult it seemed for them to just find a simple checkdown. Unreal, Aaron Glenn and this Lions defense. We created a wall over and over. This offensive line was just dominant. They just moved this defensive front. They had a little bit banged up, but their interior is not bad. With Molly Smith and Linval Jones, didn't notice them at all. You got some flash plays from the linebackers overshown. They scraped. They got down the line. You saw some stuff like that. But outside of that, there was nothing there. Then the creativity from Ben Johnson. Obviously, the big play to Sam Laporta. Play we ran against Carolina. We've ran it before. They can't stop the run, so they're selling out. You run the chip, and then you run the fade, and Sam Laporta's wide open for the touchdown after the reverse setup. You have that kind of creativity, but even in the plays that didn't work, where you tried a little touch pass to Jahmyr Gibbs, which I like because they're showing a double A gap blitz. They like to blitz on third down. So you're like, hey, let's get outside of that quickly. Let's try a touch pass. Let's go empty. Let's run a mid screen. Like, they had the right play calls for what Dallas likes to do. And that's where Ben always gets me, because when I do the preview videos, I can see it. And I'm like, okay, I see what they want to do. Try to come up with like ways that I would attack that. But then Ben goes out there and he's doing things that I'm like, I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of that. But that makes sense because of this. And I didn't even think of that. If we were called for a delay of game, we were going to try to throw it to an offensive lineman again. We tried it to Decker, was broken up. We tried the hook and ladder. We tried another time where it was called delay of game. We had like 7 offensive linemen on the field. We had KO'd out there. We had Decker running in the back of the end zone across route, but it was called delay of game, so we didn't get to try it. This dude wanted to score with an offensive lineman. So when you're working through this game, a couple of key things that stood out. First off, we knew that Dallas played differently when they had the lead versus playing from behind, and I think we saw that, right? I thought defensively, I didn't have the numbers to back it up, but they were more aggressive when they played from behind. Like, Mike Zimmer was going to dial up the blitz when he was trailing. So I think we felt that. We also saw an offense and go for it on their own side of the field, mainly because they knew they could not stop the run at all. They had no answer on defense, so they're like, we're just going to go for it. But I thought it changed up how they approached the game a little bit once they fell behind. But what's so crazy about this is the opening drive, Dallas scored a field goal, not a touchdown. They got a field goal in the opening drive, and that field goal, which was set up by, they had the holding call on an interception for Kirby Joseph. They called Alex Anzalone, whatever that was. You had an interception, but it was called back because of that flag. And then you end up getting a stop. Aidan Hutchinson draws a holding call. You end up getting a stop, but they get a field goal. They are playing with the lead. And it was so crucial that the Lions, who nearly went 3 and out on a 3rd and 5, took a shot, great pass protection. Monty stepped in, picked it up. We're able to take a shot to Tim Patrick, and he's able to go 45 yards on Amani with a ridiculous adjustment, insane finish to the ground, and come up with that play. Like, if he doesn't make that insane play, I don't know there's another receiver on this roster that could have made that play. We got guys with a lot of unique strengths. That was insane. If he doesn't make that play with that kind of body control, trailing, you're putting the ball back after a 3 and out. Instead, you make that huge play. You allow yourself to create walls. Now you're playing with the lead with the touchdown. And really from there on, it just kind of was an avalanche. I mean, we just steamrolled from there on. I mean, you had the Jalen Tolbert big, back shoulder, 26-yard grab. You then had the hold on Jack Campbell, who was kind of playing that Sam linebacker role. He got called for holding down the field, and we would have got him off the field, but your defense then stood tall. And early in the game, it kind of felt like what the preview was, which was at the end of the video where I emphasized, hey, this feels like a bend don't break type of game where you're going to give up yards, but you just can't give up touchdowns. And the Lions were doing that. Well, they did that. They didn't give up a touchdown. They just held them the field goal. So they did exactly that. It turns out probably wouldn't matter because he scored 47 points. But it felt early in that game like this is what the game is turning into. And it was, hey, Glenn, you're going to have some wrinkles. You're going to have to break some tendencies when you get in the red zone. He did just that. And the red zone defense continues to be great by using Kirby Joseph to work over to an inside receiver to make it seem like they have the corner route. Have Brian Branch work over top to a flat to then drop back into coverage with excellent spacing and come up with an interception. It was a bend don't break early in the game. And, again, the flags had a part of that. Reader had to run stuff. The Lions' the Lions' ability to stop the run without having extra bodies in the box is insane. That's the biggest difference. The Lions have always stopped the run with Glenn, but they're also now doing it with less bodies. We also came into this game, saw the slot blitzing, which preview video we talked about. I thought we'd see slot blitzing from Amik. I thought he'd be all over the place, especially early in this game. We got to see Amik Robertson use the slot blitz, but we had this ridiculous interception in the end zone. And again, from there on, we were able to just play with a lead. And I thought it was a completely different game. We go down the field, we end up kicking a field goal, but it was also set up by James Williams, which was a great bounce back because he had that one kind of bounce off his chest. And then he came back and ran the nasty route on Trayvon Diggs with the beautiful release, the stick at the top of the route, the lean. the hands catch, right? The fast reaction picks up the big first down. We tried a little touch pass after the toss didn't work. We end up kicking a field goal. You go back out there defensively, you're running this like, hey, 6-1 front, let's stop the run. And Alex comes up with this nasty pass breakup where he's literally covering the other guy on the play. Heads up play by Alex. He's playing at such a high level right now. You get back out there on offense, you're like, let's go put another touchdown on the board. Let's run this flea flicker thing to Sam Laporta. But again, you still missed a seam route to Brock Wright, which again, I think they were using that empty to kind of take advantage of a predictable early down defense. So it's always those things like I can see it and be like, oh, it looks predictable. But then here comes Ben Johnson. He's like, let me take advantage of that. Let's just run empty. How about 2 back looks? We haven't really done that much this season. 2 running back looks in this game. You go back out there on defense. They try to come out in this like double stack wide formation where they stack both receivers. They put them out wide in the numbers. They look like Tennessee playing offense here. And they try to spread the box. Like, let's just hand it off. They lose a yard. They're like, we're trying everything to find it. They couldn't find a run. They could not find a run game. They try to go wide. They hand it off. They lose the yard. Josh Pascal gets to run stuff. And then here comes Ali McNeil with the sack. Ali McNeil was all over the place. That interior defensive line was all over the place. You get Monty for 17 yards. You get the mid screen with the double A gap they're showing. You end up getting a sacked on a third and 9. I have to look back at those plays and see kind of what happened on those because, the running back screen was kind of shut down. I thought Gibbs would hit 21 plus. I had Gibbs in my player prop bet, which he did hit. We had a couple opportunities. The out route we missed to him. The wheel route we tried to him that we missed. The running back screen that was kind of blown up because the ball had to get out so fast because of early pressure on the play. So we still ended up getting it. 3 receptions, 28 yards, but he had a lot more on the table that could have been there. You get back out there on defense, and that's where Terran Arnold comes through. Gets the whip route pass breakup on Kavontae Turpin, which was massive. Go back out there on offense, and again, this is where you see the tackle for loss, which was Golston. Forced a blown block on Taylor Decker, but then they get the defensive penalty. Then Goff gets back out there, hits Tim Patrick on the deep dig route. And again, I love Tim Patrick for this because with his size, not only does he make that ridiculous acrobatic catch, and he's capable of that, but then he can also make these middle field throws so much easier, I think, for Goff because he's just such an easy target to see. But they go Tampa 2 defense, which you can see Dallas likes to do when they get to those kind of spots plus territory. They go Tampa 2. Goff holds it with his eyes all day in the pocket. Great pocket. Monty was doing his thing for the most part in pass protection outside of one I can remember. Finds Tim Patrick for this huge chunk play. You run this little one-on-run route with, again, Tim Patrick. Like, let's just get him on an island, let him run the guy over. And then, of course, you punch it in with Dave Montgomery, who had the celebration of the year for me. The Disney Channel was, are you kidding me, David? That's disgusting. That was my favorite. The one that didn't go well was probably special teams coverage because you made all your field goals. You had some good holds there that were like, we had one low snap that was a good hold, got it in, made the field goals, made extra points. Some of them were tight, but we made them. But kickoff coverage, we give up this big kickoff return because of this fake reverse, and you end up getting off the field because of Ali McNeil, who comes up with another sack, and then followed up by Melk Rodriguez in coverage. You knew coming in Ferguson was such a big part of this offense, and you really didn't notice anybody outside of CeeDee Lamb and Ferguson at the beginning. Like, I said coming in, I thought the pecking order was CeeDee Lamb, then Ferguson. It kind of felt like that. But Ferguson, you felt him at the beginning of the game, and then he kind of just didn't notice him again in the game, it felt like. And again, these linebackers, man, you got to give them so much credit for that specifically. Glenn definitely cranked up the pressure, man. He stuck to his guns. We're going to play man. We're going to bring pressure. We're going to get that ball out of his hands. And again, even with the plays that they're making, if they're contested like they are, like the one that was dropped when Alex was contested, like, you're going to live with that in man coverage, man. As long as you're not getting flagged all the time, like we got a couple flags or... The point is, though, you're making teams really work to make the grab rather than just giving them an open zone window. I'll take that all day long, and that's what the Lions have right now. Even Vildor stepped in and did fine. You get the pass breakup on the deep shot, a little bit underthrown, but you get the pass breakup. You get back out there on offense, and you run this counter play with Gibbs. You get him out there wide. You run a little check down to Gibbs. He picks up 20 yards on the play. You then try Khalif Raymond out of the empty set, which, again, Khalif got going in the pass game. We also kind of tapped on that on the preview. I wasn't sure enough to put it in a player prop bet, but Khalif Raymond, because of his speed, I thought would be an interesting matchup for Jordan Lewis in this game. I remember bringing that up, and we got him a little bit involved in the pass game, more so than we really have all year since going back to the Tampa Bay game before like the end of that game where he got the drive kind of started. That's really all he's done in the passing attack. Today we let him get involved. We use speed. We used heavy personnel with like, hey, multiple offensive linemen or multiple tight ends, 2 receivers, J-Mo and Khalif. Creates a lot of speed. He was used on the screen routes. He had a very specific package, and you can see that there's a very specific role that Khalif Raymond is still very useful for. You tried the little fade route, was covered up well and incomplete, but then that's where you hit Jamison Williams on the corner touchdown, which was literally the same setup we did against Tampa Bay. I think it may have been different coverage. I think Tampa Bay was cover 3, but against Tampa Bay, where he runs the deep corner route, but you go that quick snap, which we also did against Tampa Bay, which was we get out there quick, and I can remember pointing that out. Go back. Go back to when we played Tampa and that first big touchdown for J-Mo, and it was like a big deal. It was like, this is the breakout for J-Mo. And I remember highlighting that play and saying, this was weird because they went up there and they didn't have their normal cadence. Like, he just went up there and snapped it really quick, and everybody was kind of caught off guard. Safety was late to rotate over top, and he had the touchdown. In this case, it was a straight cover one, it looked like. But with them being late, Diggs gets beat off the line of scrimmage. Once that happens, no help because you have a single high safety who Goff can just hold because, again, the quick snap. He takes the shot, and this ball was even better than that one that Jameson delivered a dot. Great pocket. You score a touchdown there. Again, just kind of digging right back into that bag that Ben Johnson is using in the past to find success. Aidan Hutchinson sack, which he got hurt on, which stinks. What I loved about this drive is that the Lions just made them work. You know, you had a stop by Brian Branch where everybody's kind of covered up. You have Carlton Davis, who was also injured. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. He got kicked in the head. Vildor had to step in. They tried to immediately take a shot to Vildor. That was incomplete. Again, we created pressure. Aleem McNeil created pressure on the play. Nowaski ended up getting a sack that was forced up by DJ Reader. DJ Reader was doing work, but DJ Reader can pass rush. I understand he's known for his running. That dude can pass rush. Not only coming in this year, man, that dude was statistically a better pass rusher than Aleem McNeil. And then you go cover 0 on a third down because, again, this is the trust that the Lions have in their back end, is that they're staying aggressive. They're like, we don't care. We're going to do it. And it was like in years past, it was, I like that Aaron Glenn trusts his guys to make the play and that he's sticking to what he wants to do. The downside is I think there's times where he's trusting them too much. Well, right now, he's getting rewarded for trusting them a ton because they have the guys to go out there and make the play. You know, you get off the field because you go cover 0, Terran Arnold's all over Jalen Brooks, and you get off the field. Because of the confidence that you have in the back end, more often than not, it's actually working out for the Lions to run cover 0. I would like to see what the Lions, I'm going to have to look this up, what the Lions have allowed to teams when they've went cover 0, when they brought everybody, when they brought the house. What if the Lions allowed completion percentage-wise? I got to believe it's awful for opposing teams when the Lions get to those looks, especially on like kind of those third downs where they could just bring everybody. They don't have to play the run. And all of a sudden, you know, everybody just one-on-one, the ball's got to get out fast, and they just have to trust the first guy to win. That's the thing about man. Like I always say, you know, zone's going to have holes. But in man coverage, if that guy just doesn't get open and there's pressure, that's it. Down the field, but it ends up getting stopped because you have that weird delay of game call. But I love the chunk play again, that 3-match coverage. You just run this deep crosser, you're running the football all over them, which they probably could have done even more if they wanted to. Then defense gets back out there. Duracell comes up with a nice pass break up on a little check down. He was all over the place. You had this big chunk play to CeeDee Lamb, and then they had the little like kind of sideline route where it's like, oh, okay, here's the rhythm for the offense. He had some time in the pocket for like back-to-back plays, and Brian Branch comes through and kind of just like, yeah, that's not a thing. We're going to take the ball back here. Brian Branch is ridiculous. I'll say it again. Brian Branch, on any given day, is the best player on this football team. He literally can do everything at such a... He looks like the best man coverage piece a lot of times. He does. He just looks... He's incredible at everything that they put on his plate. And then you get back out there and offensively, it was just chunk play after chunk play. Goff, 18 of 25, over 300 yards passing, a 153 pass rating in this game. Hits a deep chunk play to Jameson Williams on a crossing route. Then you go back to Gibbs, and it's 15 more yards. I mean, they were just steamrolling, it felt like, this defense. The mid-screen, the cutback runs. I mean, he took a big hit on that 10-yard run, but I mean, he's not even getting touched in the backfield. There's no penetration. The offensive line was just moving guys. You run the weird hook and ladder, and then you run the pick play to J-Mo, which ends up getting called back because of an offensive penalty. Like, that was the only thing stopping the Lions, was they were trying to get real creative every time they got to the red zone. I didn't have an issue with it because it's Dallas. Because it's Dallas. I wanted to do that. Like, let's keep doing it. I loved it. Defensively, you know, you kind of finish things out with Uku getting a nice little pressure, forcing a check down. Levi getting pressure, which forced an incomplete pat with to Amik Robertson. Then you have Josh Paschal, who off the stunt gets pressure, incomplete to CeeDee Lamb. Now they're going for it on fourth down. You get, again, pressure on the play by Aleem McNeil. I think it was on a little stunt. It's thrown high. It's incomplete. Brian Branch comes up with another interception. And at that point, now it's just the game sealer. Let's hit Amon-Ra St. Brown, comeback route, beautiful time. It wasn't even bad coverage by him. He just didn't have a chance. He didn't have a chance on the play because the ball was so on time. It was on target. And, I mean, St. Brown got like 4 feet in the end zone. And by that time, you're throwing the backups into the game. You got all your backups in. They start moving the ball a little bit, but you still hold up. You're still stingy. You come up with the interception. Kirby takes another one back with him. This team in this game really did everything that you thought this could be an advantage and just took it to the next degree. Ben Johnson's creativity is incredible. You're having Aaron Glenn, who's leaning into how he wants to do things, and he's getting rewarded more often than not because he now has the personnel, but he still has so much creativity in the red zone, and to me, that's been the difference. Dak was basically 50% completion percentage. He had a 42 pass rating. He had 4 sacks on this guy. Like, this is a good quarterback pre-snap, and man, they just didn't seem to have answers for it. And what I liked about on initial watch, it just felt like a lot of times it's not always going to confuse you. You just can't get open. You just don't have a guy get open, and we're going to beat you up front. It's like we're going to get there. We're going to bring an extra rusher. We're going to get there fast, and you don't have a guy that's going to go win one-on-one. More often than not, we're going to win that battle. And that's kind of what it felt like in this game. Then he started playing from behind. They have to kind of play that way. They had zero run game. It didn't matter what the heck it seemed like we did defensively. They had no run game until we went to our bench. They just didn't have an answer. Like the impact of DJ Reader and Aleem, I know the talks about kind of the other things because they're the things that pop, but DJ Reader and Aleem, that impact is trickling every week, and you'll see it more on the All-22, but it does so much for this team. 47-9. Couldn't have asked for anything more than that. I hate the Aidan Hutchinson injury. It honestly kills the whole vibe of the win, but it does set us up in an NFC North that just isn't losing. I think Adam Schefter just posted something about it. The NFC North is now the first division since the realignment 2002 where all 4 teams have at least 4 wins through 6 weeks. And we had a bye week. Like, that's what the NFC North has been to this point, to go Minnesota and play for the division and potentially give them their first loss. So you needed this one to allow that to be the case, but you also need your spirit to be like this. It's flying high right now. You're feeling yourselves. What a win. Congratulations, Lions, man. This was amazing. Fans enjoyed this one. We'll kind of keep posted on the Aidan Hutchinson situation. Something's going to happen. They're going to go make a move. I'm sure of it. But until that time, we may look at some names, dive into some ideas, but I'm going to leave it here for now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm